Well, a very, very happy Monday morning and welcome to the John Quintero Show. We're with you Monday and Friday from 10 o'clock until whenever. We never really have an end time, but we got a lot to cover today. Hope everyone had a great Super Bowl weekend. We're going to get into that. Going to also kind of ask you a little bit about that halftime. Kendrick Lamar, um, I didn't quite get it. Okay, I guess if you're 40 and younger, maybe you got it. But if you're 40 and over, had no idea. I had no idea what he was saying. The dancing was fantastic. The choreographic performance was outstanding. It was cool seeing Serena Williams up there. But man, I don't know if a high percentage of people really enjoyed the halftime show. I mean, you're supposed to be broadcasting, not narrowcasting. I think that was very narrowcasting, in my opinion. But if you got comments on that, I'm not into the rap. But Dr. Dre a few years back with my man Snoop Dogg, I was kind of into that. I've really enjoyed most of the performances over the years. I know people have a tendency to be very critical, but Kendrick Lamar, no doubt, a tremendous entertainer, but that's not my cup of tea. But nonetheless, we're going to get into that. Before we break down Super Bowl 59, I want to remind everyone, uh, please subscribe to the channel. Very much appreciate that. And hit like if you like it. We would certainly appreciate that. We're also on Facebook at John Quintero, and people are watching us live on Facebook right now. And again, my X handle is Coach Quintero 44. Facebook's John Quintero, and X is Coach Quintero 44. Okay, we got so much to talk about. It was a great weekend. I had a great weekend. I just kind of, didn't do a whole lot. I had a very, very busy Monday through Friday. But over the weekend, very, very pretty slow. I got called on Friday afternoon by UC San Diego and a young lady that does the color analysts on their women's basketball game. She had a commitment. And so they asked me at the last minute if I would do the ladies' game on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Well, you know what? I prepared like I always do for the men's game, was a maniac. It pretty much took up all Friday afternoon and early evening. But I went down, did the game. They lost a tough one to UC Santa Barbara. Very, very good basketball team, I might add. Or actually, it was Irvine. I'm sorry. UC Irvine, a very good basketball team. But I can tell you the Triton ladies, they're going to be pretty good. They got a very, very good young team, and they got beat by a veteran team. So then I came home, and I was geared up. I really geared up for the Tritons going against UC Irvine. And I'm going to get into that in depth, but I want to get to Super Bowl 59. We got to break it down a little bit. Not a lot to break down other than the Eagles came out and really totally dominated this football game against the two-time defending world champion Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, this game was over before halftime. I mean, for all intents purposes, it was over until halftime. Hell, the Chiefs were down at one point in the third quarter, 34-0, and they had not gotten past the midfield stripe. They didn't get past midfield until very late, almost just under 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. I mean, they were having all kinds of problems. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I mean, he was getting avalanched. And the thing that was amazing about Philadelphia, Vic Fangio in his first year as the defensive coordinator, been a great coach. Spent, a little time, as the head coach of Denver, but been a long time defensive coordinator. And he had this pack. Number one, his defensive linemen just kicked ass the entire game. They had four guys going against five, and they were crushing the Chiefs' offensive line. I figured Andy Reid at halftime would make some kind of adjustment, but whatever they did, it didn't work. I mean, Patrick Mahomes got sacked 6 times. He was hurried 16 more times. Travis Kelce was a non-factor. In fact, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm going to have to go back and reevaluate my wide receiver position. And I've got to figure out what I'm doing on the offensive line. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster, who's had some good years in the NFL, his time, I'm not saying he's not good enough to play in the NFL, but he's not, uh, a one or two guy now. DeAndre Hopkins, who's had a great year, he's not a one or two guy any longer. He's a third guy. Xavier Worthy, the kid that can flat out run, had a marvelous game. They've got to upgrade their wide receiving spot, and now they've got to take a look at tight end. I mean, I personally like Travis Kelce. I think he plays his tail off. He had a rough Super Bowl. Looked slow and old and tired. It really didn't do a whole lot. And, we know about him dating Taylor Swift. I wonder how many workouts he's missed, traveling. And, I'm not going to dog the guy because the guy's a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But 35 years of age, he's had a hell of a career. But Andy Reid has won these Super Bowls on guys like Mahomes, who's still very young, Travis Kelce, and speed receivers. And of course, Tyreek Hill hasn't been there in the last few years. Xavier Worthy, apparently, fastest guy ever in the NFL Combine a year ago. And he was great. I mean, he made two great plays for touchdowns in Super Bowl 59. But the Chiefs just got pushed around. They were like on roller skates all day. And I am so happy for Jalen Hurts. I mean, I can't begin to tell you how excited I am for him. Because when Jalen Hurts came out of Oklahoma, remember he was there at Alabama, got taken out of the national championship game against Georgia, and they brought in Tua Tagovailoa. And Tagovailoa was going to be coming back, and he was younger, and Nick Saban was going to go with him. And he talked with Saban, and he ended up, Jalen Hurts' last year went to Oklahoma, finished second in the Heisman Trophy. He came out. I was a big Jalen Hurts fan, and I still am. I said on the podcast on Friday, I thought the Chiefs would win, but I said I also felt that Philadelphia probably had the better football team, and I wasn't going to be here on Monday crying if the Chiefs lost. I'm very happy for a lot of people. My buddy Bill Warndell, I congratulated him last night. He was in the press box last night there in New Orleans. But Jalen Hurts is a guy that everybody has tried to criticize. And even 2 years ago, when they lost to the Chiefs 38-35 in Super Bowl 57, everybody wanted to criticize him. Hell, he outplayed Patrick Mahomes in that game. And yesterday, he totally outplayed him. So even though he's 1-1 in Super Bowls, he's outplayed the great Patrick Mahomes in 2 Super Bowls. And he earned that trophy yesterday. The Lombardi Trophy plus the Super Bowl MVP trophy. He was fantastic. And you could tell Kansas City was selling out to shut down Saquon Barkley. And they did a really good job. I mean, Barkley, 25 carries yesterday, 57 yards. He averaged 2.3 per carry, and then he had 6 catches for 40 yards, which was good. But, I mean, Devontae Smith, 4 catches, 69 yards, a touchdown. A.J. Brown, 3 catches, 43 yards. He had a touchdown. The young guy, Jahan Dotson, couple of receptions, 42 yards. That 127-yard one, thought he got in, but they ruled him short. And on replay, definitely short. But the Eagle defense was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And the Chiefs looked old, tired, and slow. They didn't look right. But I think Philadelphia had a lot to do with that. And how about that young guy? DeJean, the defensive back, on his 22nd birthday, he picks off Mahomes and takes it to the house. 22 years of age. Rookie. First career interception. So give me your comments on the Super Bowl. I mean, my comment is the Eagles just came in and kicked ass. And the Chiefs were never in it. Never really, really in it. But hey, you know what? I enjoyed it. I watched it from the opening kickoff to the final gun. I watched the post game. Give me your thoughts on just Fox in general. You know what? Brady wasn't as good yesterday as he's been during the regular season. I don't know. They had that guy going in 38 different directions yesterday. I mean, he must have been on 30 times. Seriously. before the game ever got started. I know he's making a lot of money, but I didn't think he had a strong game yesterday. I don't want to say I was disappointed. I mean, but maybe the moment was a little too big for Tom Brady yesterday in his first year of broadcasting. Because I've been a big defender of Brady during the season. And I thought he was getting better as the year went on. Everybody wanted to be very critical that first game or two. Working with a great broadcaster, in my opinion, Kevin Burkhardt. I didn't think Brady had a great game. And, I disagreed with him on that one call, the one pass interference, the offensive pass interference on A.J. Brown. You can't hit the defensive back. You can't keep pushing them with a hand to gain separation. And I thought that was an easy play to call. And I know Mike Pereira, the referee guy, came on and goes, well, that's not enough. You can't push a guy in the face mask. Okay, you can't push a guy in the face mask. That was an easy play to call. The other one I probably disagreed with, that high throw. I didn't think that should have been a penalty. I thought the offensive pass interference was definitely a penalty, even though Brady and Mike Pereira didn't. I did. And then that high ball, I didn't think the receiver got hit really at all. In fact, I thought the guy that hit him was trying to hold up. But, give me your thoughts on the game, a halftime. Just drop them in. I'd like to hear what you have to say. But I didn't think Brady had one of his best games. And, the Fox crew, those guys, I think, are good guys, but they've become more stars than really knowing what they're talking about. They just kind of ramble, and there's too many of them. And now you've got Gronkowski in there. You got Jimmy Johnson's hanging on. You got Howie Long. You got Bradshaw, Strahan. They probably need to shake that up a little bit. Give me your opinion on that as well. And like I said, those guys I've enjoyed over the years, but there's too many of them, and I don't know. I think they become bigger stars than they are, breaking down football. But maybe that's what Fox wants. But I didn't think that the broadcast was all that great yesterday. I thought Burkhardt did a good job. Brady had his moments where he was pretty good, but he seemed a little bit wishy-washy at times. Kevin in Chula Vista, RH. KC went in with an entitled attitude and was never competitive. Terrible Super Bowl. Yes, Brady, too, was as clueless as Kansas City. He just didn't seem comfortable. But again, he was all over the place. They had him everywhere. And, I know for me, and I know I've never broadcast a Super Bowl, but I've done college football at Ohio Stadium. I've done 3 games there. I've done one at Michigan, Wisconsin, done some basketball games, not to the magnitude of like the NBA Finals or the Final Four. But when you're getting prepared, especially, an hour or so before the game, you want to really be focused. You want to bear down. It's kind of like a coach. You want to bear down. And you got your own little rituals. I know even doing UC San Diego games, I've got my own little thing that I do. Before I leave the house, I leave at a certain time every time. I want to be in the parking lot at a certain time. And, Brady was getting pulled everywhere yesterday. He really was. But I didn't think Fox had a great day. I really didn't. But, I'll let you decide on that. But, yeah, I guess as far as a competitive game, it wasn't competitive, especially when DeJean ran that interception back, and that blew the game wide open. And, it was going to take a miracle. You're down 24-0 at halftime. It was going to take a miracle. And Patrick Mahomes, he couldn't pull that miracle off. Luis, good morning, Coach. Do you think Eagles defense should have been the real MVP? Well, I think they were the real MVP. But you don't give MVP trophies to an entire defense. But I will tell you this. If you listen to Jalen Hurts right after the game, I think it was an on-field interview. I watched him interviewed several times last night. But I think it was right there at the end of the game. First thing he said, man, our defense won this game. He goes, defense wins championships. Defense was outstanding. Sweat, Nolan Smith, those guys were coming off the edge. I mean, they put so much pressure on him. And you know what? I guess Brandon Graham is probably going to retire. I mean, that guy's been a warrior for years. But you know what? I felt bad for whoever they had to sit yesterday so Brandon Graham could play, because Brandon Graham missed a lot of time with an injury, but he worked his way to get back in there. And he had one tackle, but he was in there. He was making some things happen. But it might have been Brandon Graham's last game. He goes out with his second Super Bowl ring. That's cool. That guy's been a hell of a player for a long time for the Eagles. You know, I got to be honest with you. I've been to Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. I had the opportunity a few years ago to go there for the Army-Navy game. And I'd never been to Philadelphia before. But I can tell you, and I was telling people all weekend, you know, if Philadelphia wins, I'm fine with it, because you don't realize we're out here on the West Coast, and unless you're from Philly or back in that part of the country, you don't realize how important athletics teams are to the fans in Philadelphia. I mean, they live, breathe, and sleep their teams, whether it be the Eagles, whether it be the Phillies. I was going to say Washington Nationals because of Bryce Harper. 76ers, I think they'd like them to be better, but, you know, when they had a great hockey team, the Philadelphia Flyer, I mean, they live and breathe their sports teams back there. And I can only imagine what it's like in Philadelphia. Everybody's probably being nice to one another today for at least one day. But, man, going to Lincoln Financial Field just for the Army-Navy game, I could only imagine for an Eagles game. When I was there, I was down on the field, and the security guy I became friends with, and he showed me exactly where Mike Trout sits. He goes, "Hey, these are Trout seats right here." So that was pretty cool. And Trout's such a devoted Philadelphia Eagles fan. But, man, I know, like, for Philly Billy Wardell, he's got to be, you know, flying back today from New Orleans. He's got to be so excited. But, yeah, just a total ass kicking over the weekend. Okay, a little bit later on in the program today, we're going to get to the coach's mailbag. We're going to get 3 or 4 questions from our prior show. So, you know, even when we go off the air, if you want to drop in some questions, you know, we're kind of going through, and we can't get to all of them, but we try to get to as many as we can. Okay, we got to get to Padres. Okay, pitchers and catchers report tomorrow to Peoria. Christmas in February for the coach. Okay. Padres looking to add some left field help. Now, isn't it amazing on Friday? I went through a list of players, and I happened to talk about Jason Heyward, but I also talked about Connor Joe, how he was still available out there. Well, wouldn't you know it? Later in the morning, after I got off the air, we did almost an hour show on Friday. Shortly after that, Connor Joe signs a one-year deal with the Padres for about $1 million. Isn't that amazing? I guess AJ must have been listening to my program. But Connor Joe, I know very well. I know him very well. First time I ever met him was at Torrey Pines High School. I was working out a pitcher, and the pitcher, I told him to bring a catcher. He brought Connor Joe when they were playing at USD, and I met Connor there. And then when I was working for John Boggs, we represented Connor Joe. But that isn't how I found out that he was going to sign with the Padres. I just said he was out there. I know he's been working out at USD with a bunch of pro players. I think he had another offer, but the Padres came in, and, hey, he wants to play in San Diego. Cancer survivor, battled testicular cancer back in 2020. Missed an entire baseball season. He's a young man that plays with a lot of fervor. Tough, hard-nosed guy, good arm. Last year played for the Pittsburgh Pirates, hit .228, 9 homers, 36 RBIs. Can play left, can play right, can play first. Probably could play third. He got a very strong arm. Could probably play a little third base. And, coming out of Poway, and even when he was at USD, a lot of people liked him behind the plate, but he hadn't caught in several years. But in a pinch, he could be your catcher. Former first-round draft pick of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Hits left-handed pitching very well. So, we'll see where that goes. But, hey, Connor's a good kid. San Diego kid, born and raised here. Chinese heritage, good family. Like I mentioned on the program on Friday. So we'll see where it goes. But and not only that, how about his wife, Kylie? His wife was a softball player at USD. So we wish the Joe family very well as he'll don a Padre uniform. Jason Heyward, it's not official yet, but it sounds like he's going to be a Padre. Padres have not sent out an official press release, but we assume Jason Heyward is going to sign, a very low budget contract. There'll be incentives. 35 years of age. Last season split the season between the Dodgers and Houston. Didn't have a good year. 211, 10 homers, 28 RBIs. Battled some injuries. 56 career hitter, 184 dingers, 718 RBIs, 1,560 hits. The guy knows how to play. Good clubhouse guy, can still play the outfield, can run into one occasionally. Right now, you're kind of looking probably with Connor Joe being signed, Jason Heyward presumably going to sign a contract, looking at a platoon. And then yesterday, the Padres signed Gavin Sheets. Now, this guy's interesting for me. I've watched this guy play. He hasn't put up big numbers yet, but he's played for the Chicago White Sox, who are worst team in baseball. And they didn't make him a qualifying offer. He's still a young guy, 28 years of age. Guy's got some pop from the left side. His numbers weren't great last year. He played in a career high 139 games, hit 233, a 303 on base percentage. You'd like that to be better. 357 slug, 10 bombs, 45 RBIs, former second round pick of the White Sox back in 2017. Interesting guy for me. Got great tools. Can throw a little bit from the outfield. He can play left. He can play right if needed. And he can play first base. This guy's an interesting guy. Now, everybody will go, well, it's not Profar. Hey, let me tell you something about Jerks and Profar. Remember when Profar back in 2023 got DFA'd by Colorado? Do you realize when Jerks and Profar playing in the hitter-friendly ballpark at Coors Field, when he got DFA'd, of the qualified hitters in Major League Baseball, in both the American and National League, qualified hitters, you had to have X amount of at-bats at that point in time. He was the worst player in baseball. He was worst player in baseball offensively when he got DFA'd by Colorado. And I remember I was on the radio and I said, you know what? Profar will end up back with the Padres. And like as soon as he cleared waivers, Padres signed him to a minor league deal. Next thing you know, boom, he's back in the big leagues, finished 2023. Padres re-signed him, during spring training last year. Guy comes back and has an all-star first half, makes his first all-star game. Okay, and people were saying, well, can't we do better than Profar? Well, Profar last year played for $1 million plus incentives, and he got all those incentives because he played great, even though second half he kind of cooled off a little bit. Now, everybody's trying to really dissect this Connor Joe, Jason Heyward situation, and now Gavin Sheets. I'm going to tell you what, these guys know how to play. I mean, their numbers aren't great, but you got to remember something else. Padres have a hell of a lineup. I mean, they've got a hell of a lineup. Now, towards the end of the lineup, you'd like to beef it up because I don't know what you're going to get out of your catching situation. I have no idea what you're going to get out of your catching situation. But let's take a look at this. At first base, you got Cronenworth or Arise. Probably right now, Arise. Maybe Gavin Sheets. But it sounds like Cronenworth's going to play second. So you're going to get offensive production from second, short. Even though Xander Bogaerts has not been the same guy in San Diego that he was all those years in Boston, he's still giving you good offensive numbers. They're not bad. And then you know what you're getting out of the third base spot. And then at first base, whether it's Arise or whether it's Gavin Sheets, if it's Arise, you're getting a guy that's going to probably, if not lead the league in hitting, be right up there. And they're hoping he'll have a little bit better on-base percentage this year. So, I mean, your infield offensively is damn good. I mean, even if Bogaerts hit 260, he's going to hit some doubles, he's going to drive in some runs, and going to hit some home runs. We don't need guys to hit 300, especially when you got this. Then you take a look at the outfield. You know what you're getting out of Fernando. You know what you're going to get out of Jackson Merrill. really the only two positions we don't know what we're getting anything out of right now are probably behind the plate, because I don't really know what you're going to get out of Luis Camposano. Elias Diaz probably going to hit, 240, 250, maybe on a good year, hit 260 and hit 10 home runs, 12 homers. Okay, Martin Maldonado, I don't know if he'll make the ball club. He'll be in camp on a minor league contract. So offensively, behind the plate, you're not going to get a lot. Whatever you get will be a plus. And then figure out what you're going to do in left field. And we'll see where that goes. But don't underscore Connor Joe, very good against left-handed pitching. Jason Heyward, a presence, well-respected ball player, well-respected in the clubhouse. I think he can still do some things. I think a good offseason, working out, getting healthy is going to help him. 35 years of age, he'll turn 36 next August. And Gavin Sheets, who's 28, I'm not going to underscore Victor Rodriguez, the Padre hitting coach. I think this guy had done a good job. He'll probably shorten Gavin Sheets' swing up a little bit, I would think, and try not to cause him to lose any power. But Gavin Sheets is an interesting guy for me. I've watched him play. I think the guy can help the ball club, but we'll wait and see. Kirsten, love the Gavin Sheets pick. Absolutely, Kirsten. Totally, as I'm saying right now, I totally agree with that. I think he's a good physical athlete, good athlete. And with Connor Joe, Jason Heyward, Gavin Sheets, and these guys aren't going to play every day. That's what you got to. They're not going to play every day, but they're going to be able to add to the bench. Everybody loves to tease me about my old comment and my open. You got to have veterans on the bench. Look what it did last year. Peralta, Solano. You had guys coming off the bench last year that got the job done. And AJ knows that. You got to have veterans. And, is Connor Joe going to be in the All-Star game? Probably not. Jason Heyward going to make another All-Star game? He made one way back in 2010? Probably not. Gavin Sheets going to be on the All-Star team? Probably not. But can they help the ball club win? Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll see where that goes. Okay, and I expect the Padres to do some other things as well. Okay, we're going to get to the Pecota predictions. And this ought to create some interest from you fans out there. And I'm going to give you the National League West, and I'm going to give you the American League West, because we are going to talk from time to time on this program about the Angels, and I mentioned that on Friday. Okay, National League West, Pecota, their predictions. The Los Angeles Dodgers, they predict, will win 103.8. So they've basically got the Dodgers winning 104 games this year. I talked about it on Friday. I don't think the Dodgers are going to try to win 115 or 120. They're going to try to stay healthy. I think they win 104 probably without too much of a problem. They just got too much pitching, way too much pitching. Pecota also predicts the Dodgers to be in the playoffs 99.9%. They're going to be a playoff team this year. Okay, the Arizona Diamondbacks, Pecota's got winning 86.9. So they've got them winning 87 games. And they've got a 63.1% chance to get to the playoffs. And then there's our San Diego Padres. They've got them at 84, straight 84. So the Padres would finish 3 games over 500, 84 and 78. And they've got them at 44.4% to make the playoffs. I said Friday on the program, I think the Padres probably finish in third this year, but I also said I think the Padres will be a playoff team. Just got to get in the playoffs. And then if we got all of our guys still here, King and Cease and Darvish, and who knows who might be a surprise this year with our bullpen if they don't trade Robert Suarez, and that's something that they're apparently kicking the tires on right now. That'd save them about $10 million. And they got guys that could probably fill that role, but kind of like to have that extra power arm coming out of the bullpen. But they've got the Padres winning 84, and again, 44.4%. How about San Francisco? They've got San Francisco, Bob Melvin, second year up there, going 77.9, so basically 78 wins. They've got a 12.6% chance of making the playoffs. And then my buddy Black. I don't know how many more years Buddy's going to manage, let alone manage in Colorado. They've got Colorado winning 56 games this year. So that means they'd lose over 100 games again. 56 wins, and they've got the playoff odds for Colorado to get in, goose egg. So if you're a Colorado's Rocky fan, you're going into the season, you're expecting nothing whatsoever. Zero. You got zero chance to make the playoffs according to Pecota. So again, they got the Padres going 84-78. Okay, the American League West. They've got Bruce Bochy's team bouncing back with 89.8 wins. Houston at 87.4, Seattle at 86.3, the Angels at 77.1, and Sacramento, the old Oakland Athletics, at 70.3. Angels at 77.1. Angels, I'll say this, Angels have signed a lot of veterans. They're going to throw as much against the wall and see what sticks this year. I don't know about the Angels. That's been a rough go up there. Hasn't that been a rough go for you Angel fans? Okay, let's get to some basketball. And I thought it was interesting in the morning paper, Mark Ziegler, who was out at the UC San Diego game last Thursday night, sat a couple of seats down from me. He covers the Aztecs, and he travels and is really into it and really knows basketball. He's coached basketball. Two things about Mark Ziegler. He knows basketball very well, and he knows soccer very, very well. And I'm not saying he doesn't know the other sports, but I mean, he's really an aficionado of both. And I thought this was very interesting. And I know he doesn't put the headline on a story, but when you read the story, he tells you why the headline is on the story today. It's at the bottom of the sports page, Monday's sports page. Best basketball team in town might not be the Aztecs anymore. Well, I know UC San Diego lost to the Aztecs at Viejas Arena by 5, their first game of the year. And I know a year ago, UC San Diego probably should have beat San Diego State over at Lion Tree Arena if it weren't for Jaden Ledee hitting a follow shot as the game expired and the Aztecs won by 1. UC San Diego would have won that game. And, you know, this year, like a lot of teams, they're putting their team together. They got new guys coming in. But UC San Diego, I mean, this team is for real. And I'm not saying that just because I call their games. If you love basketball, I think you'd really enjoy watching this team play. If you've not seen them play, they've got a home game coming up on Saturday afternoon against UC Davis. And they got 3 other home games on Saturdays at 7 o'clock. This game on Saturday is going to be at 4 o'clock. They've got dudes that know how to play. Eric Olin's a great young coach. And Mark Ziegler even pointed out today, I mean, Eric Olin, he's going to probably get offered big time money. I mean, this guy is that good. He's been there 12 years. He's seen it through Division II. 1 year when COVID hit, they were 30-1 and they couldn't go to the playoffs. And he's had to navigate now into his 5th year in Division I. Last year, they had 21 wins, finished second in the Big West, 15-5 record, couldn't go to the NCAA or the NIT. They went to one of the lesser tournaments, got beat by Chicago State. They've come back this year. They beat Utah State and Logan. I mean, they're 20-4 right now. And in conference, they're 10-2, but they went up against Irvine, who's really been the kingpin in the Big West. And over the last 5 years, Irvine had not only lost 1 game by double digits in the last 5 seasons. Well, UC San Diego went up there the other night and they beat them by 18. And they shot the lights out. And their big 3-point shooter didn't have a great night, Tyler McGuy. He only had 1 3-point or go, but they went 16-31 on the 3-pointers, and they beat him 85-67. Aniwa Tate Jones, a young man, great player, got him from Hawaii Hilo. Had a great season a year ago and having a better year, and very well could be the Big West Player of the Year. The other night, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. Chris Howell, kid out of Torrey Pines who went to St. Mary's, transferred back. 5 of 8 on 3-pointers, 15 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists. Norton Kapich, who they got from Division II, 15 points, 5 of 6 shooting, 3 of 4 on 3 balls. Here's a guy, 6'8", 245, stepping out and knocking him down from long range. And then Hayden Gray, a local kid who from Santa Fe Christian, spent 2 years at Azusa Pacific and comes back to UC San Diego. He had 12 points, 3 rebounds, 8 assists. And by the way, also leads America in all of Division I basketball in steals per game. I mean, he's having a marvelous year. But they spanked Russ Turner's UC Irvine Anteaters. And so they're tied now in the Big West. But this is normally the Big West is a one-bid team. Whoever wins the Big West tournament over in Henderson, Nevada, gets to go. Well, this year, I really think there's 2 worthy opponents coming out of the Big West. I mean, seriously, UC Irvine and UC San Diego, they would be a tough out for anybody in the first round. They really would be. And I think there's teams out there that wouldn't necessarily want to play these guys. So right now, they may be the best Division I team in San Diego, but I'm not writing off San Diego State. San Diego State's sitting at 15-6 right now, 8-4. The other night, and I was going back and forth between the 2 games, I just saw a lot of immaturity from the Aztecs the other night. They've got talent up and down their roster, but they got a lot of young guys. They've got some veteran guys like Nick Boyd and Wayne McKinney, the third, but at the end of the day, they got a lot of youth. And it's tough to win on the road in any conference, let alone the Mountain West Conference. Very difficult. And I just thought they got outplayed, and I thought their emotions maybe played into that a little bit. Magoon Aguat, the young freshman, very good player, going to be a star. Hopefully he stays around. But, Nick Boyd didn't have a great game. He had 8 points, 2 of 8. BJ Davis, 3 of 10. Miles Bird, 2 of 11, 1 of 8 on 3-pointers. Not going to get it done. So the Aztecs right now are kind of in the middle of the Mountain West. In fact, right now, I think unless they make an incredible run or in the regular season and go deep into the tournament, they're going to have to win the Mountain West Conference tournament or they're going to the NIT this year. Right now, they're playing like an NIT team for me. I don't know how you look at it, but I think they're probably, unless they win the tournament or just go crazy the remainder of the regular season and go deep into the Mountain West Conference tournament, I think they're going to have to win the tournament or they're going to the NIT. But looking at the standings, and by the way, the Aztecs have a couple of games this week. Tomorrow night they're going to be at San Jose State, and San Jose State gave them all kinds of problems. In fact, I'm not sure how they beat San Jose State. They won 71-68 at Viejas a couple of weeks ago, but San Jose State shot the lights out in that game. And then Saturday night at Viejas, 7 o'clock, Boise State coming to town. Leon Rice bringing a good ball club to town. Aztecs beat Boise State up in Boise earlier in the season, 76-68. But the standings right now in the Mountain West Conference, you got New Mexico at 12-1, Utah State 11-2, and they've got 3 losses altogether. That other non-conference loss again was against UC San Diego. Colorado State with the win the other night are 9-3. Boise State's 9-4, and then the Aztecs at 8-4, and everyone else in the Mountain West Conference 7 or more losses. So right now the Aztecs sitting in 5th place in the Mountain West Conference. They got some work to do. And USD, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I mean, it's a complete and utter disaster out at USD. I don't know what to tell you if you're a Toreros fan. I really don't know what to tell you. I mean, the other night, they go up against Santa Clara. It was a late afternoon game at the Levy Center. They go out and they get beat by 23, 93-70. I know they lost a tough game last Thursday night up at Pacific at the Alex G. Spano Center. They lost 71-69, but they went out and they just got boat raced 93-70. And Santa Clara's not bad. They're a pretty good club. Herb Sendek's done a pretty good job up there. But 4-22, 1-12. Thursday night, they're going to be at Firestone Fieldhouse, 7 o'clock, take on Pepperdine. And then Saturday night, they'll be at Jenny Craig Pavilion going against a very nice USF squad at 7 o'clock. I don't know what they're going to do. I know they got a new athletic director up there in the last year. I don't know. Maybe Steve Lavin doesn't even want to continue. I mean, he's been there 3 years, and it's been a rough go. And you take a look at what's going on at UC San Diego, what continues to go on at San Diego State, and you're saying, God, how can USD, if they're going to be a basketball school, how are they going to get this thing turned around? I don't know. It's been a long time. Been a really, really long time. Okay, let's get to some of these questions from our last show, and then I want to get into a little must-see TV tonight. I'm hoping it's must-see TV, but I'll get to that. But let's take a look at the coach's mailbag. The Dave, 5748. I think it'll be good for the team. Do not have big pressure build up on the last few years. They're probably not expected to get to the World Series, so maybe we can surprise people. I guess that's a good way to look at it. I don't know. I mean, I guess as we get closer, we'll probably talk about expectation. What do you expect out of this ball club? I don't normally make my predictions until they're about ready to break camp because so many things change, not only with your ball club, but with other ball clubs. Guys sign late, injuries play a part in it. But prior to opening day, I'll make my prediction on what I think the Padres are going to do win-wise. But, I think you go back to 2 years ago, I think there was a lot coming off of getting to the NLCS and getting beat by Philadelphia. I think going into 2023, there was a lot expected, and they fell right on their Johnson. And then last year they came back, and I don't know, what we thought last year, but they played great baseball, really good baseball. All right, let's take a look at this. If the Padres can't re-sign players in their walk year, they need to trade them and get some value for them. Well, I think it kind of depends on how you want to roll the dice. I think if you're out of it at the All-Star break and before the trade deadline, yeah, get what you can. But if you're in it, you got to kind of, are you in it to win it? So even though a guy may not be coming back in 2026, if he's a big part of your ball club in 2025 and you're vying for a playoff spot, you got to make a decision. You either roll the dice and keep him with the ball club, or you trade him and get, a minor league prospect. Because nobody's going to tear their ball club apart at the trading deadline if they think they're going to be a playoff team. They want to add to it. But I do agree. If a guy's in a walk year and you're not in the playoffs, I'd trade a lot of guys. But Padres got some guys that are untradeable. I mean, Jake Cronenworth right now is untradeable. Xander Bogaerts, untradeable. Manny Machado would be untradeable. Not going to pay these guys that kind of money for production that they've done in the past. That's the problem. And everybody's talking about after the 2026 season, there could be a lockout. And will there be a salary cap? And we're not going to get into that today. I've got my definite opinions on salary cap. Also, there should be a floor to where teams have to spend at least X amount of dollars rather than just taking that money and holding it up and keeping it and dispersing it among the team owners. That's my take. And there's other things. Guaranteed contracts opposed to non-guaranteed contracts. We'll see. All righty. Andre Waberg, 482. Preller has had an entire offseason to add the bats he alleges he wants, and yet we've only lost bats. Andrew, I'm not, I think I said Andre the first time. Andrew, I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm not sure AJ Preller has had the ability to do anything this offseason until recently. And these are all minor moves. I mean, you're spending probably $1 million on Connor Joe with incentives. Probably, I would imagine right around $1 million in incentives for Jason Heyward. And a guy like Gavin Sheets not making any money. You sign him to a minor league contract. So it's not like he's really been able to do anything. I mean, really, the only significant money they spent. And nowadays, you laugh at it, they gave Elias Diaz $3.5 million. And that's it. So, I don't think AJ has had the ability to do a whole lot. I think this ownership situation has really handcuffed him for the first time, really, in his tenure as the general manager of our Padres. So I hope that answers your question. Must watch TV tonight, folks. And I hope he plays. I hope he plays. But tonight is supposed to be the night Luka Doncic makes his debut with the Lakers. I'll be tuning. Game at 7:30. It'll be on Spectrum. I don't know if it's on national TV tonight or not. Probably. I would imagine somebody would want to pick it up. But supposed to play tonight against the Utah Jazz. And how about that game on Saturday? LeBron didn't play with a sore ankle. Doncic obviously didn't play. They played Jackson Hayes, Austin Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith. I'm trying to think who else. Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent. And they went out and they beat Indiana. And they were up by like 25 at one point, maybe even 30. I was doing the women's game at UC San Diego, and I'm trying to keep up with the Lakers. And they ended up winning and hanging on 124 to 117. Austin Reeves had 45 points. So Lakers are playing great. They're 11 games over 500 right now, or actually 12 games at 31 and 19. 31 and 19. They play tonight. They got Utah. And then they've got another issue with the Lakers. Lakers trade with Charlotte to get Mark Williams got rescinded on Saturday because Williams couldn't pass the Lakers physical. So that means Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish, a couple of draft picks, 2030 pick swap comes back to the Lakers along with the Lakers 2031 first round pick. They come back and everybody's got to tell one another how much they really loved him. They didn't want to trade him away. So Lakers still now are going to struggle without a big man. Jackson Hayes played pretty well. LeBron may have to play a little center on this team. I don't know if LeBron's playing tonight or not, but Doncic's supposed to play. We'll have to wait and see. And, man, how about Anthony Davis? Anthony Davis on Saturday playing for Dallas. He was having this monster game. I mean, he played 31 minutes. He had 26 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 blocks in 31 minutes, and had to leave the game at the end of the third quarter. Now they're saying he's going to be out multiple weeks because of a left adductor strain. So that's tough for AD. Good guy, great player, was having a monster game, but had to come out. Okay, we got any other questions out there people would like to drop in? Hey, we're getting close, folks. We're getting really, really close to the start of Padre baseball season. Tomorrow, all the pitchers, catchers, most of them have been there for a while. All right, RH, Kevin in Chula Vista. Padres' huge payroll is tied up in 5 players. It's not how much you spend. It's on who and for how long. Yeah. I'll tell you, the Manny Machado deal is a lot of money. A lot of money. I don't know how well Manny's going to age as a third baseman, let alone as a ball player. But right now, he had a good year last year, even though he was coming off that shoulder problem. We'll see what he can do this year. It'd be nice if he could really get off to a good start this year. Bogart's deal, not looking good. Cronenworth's deal, not looking good. The most movable contract we know for what he brings to the table, and that's if he can stay healthy, is Fernando. But in my opinion, I'm not trading Fernando. At some point in time, Fernando may want to get traded. The Padres can't, be a consistent playoff team. Fernando's not going to want to waste his career here in San Diego unless they can get it done. The other guys are locked in, but Fernando's contract is very movable, and he's under contract until 2034, and he's not going anywhere. I talked about it last week. I mean, his contract is very movable, but he's got the ability to block any trade right now. And then later in the career, I think it's 2029, he could block going to 13 different teams. But right now, he's our right fielder. I'm praying that he could play 145 games. If he plays 145 games, he'll hit 40 dingers this year. Hopefully. All right, Kevin and Chulvis, he's fired up. SDSU Basketball needs Dutch to insert discipline and structure. The playground strategy is not working for the young team. Free throw misses unacceptable. Yeah, man. 11 of 21 the other night on a foul shooting. I didn't even need to look at a stat on that. I remember that one there. And not only were they 11 of 21, a few of those, if not 5 of them, were like the front ends of 1-and-1. I mean, you missed out on a possible 16 points there. And you're not going to hit every free throw, but you'd like to as a team, you'd like to be 70 plus. I'd like my teams to be at about 75 plus, but sometimes that may be asking a little bit too much. But man, the Aztecs the other night, 11-21. You know, I had a college coach, my first college practice, because I was a college basketball player. My first college practice, I'll never forget our coach. Guy by the name of Skip Enger at Maricosta Community College. I played for Skip for 2 years before I went and played at USIU for Mike McDonald. And the very, very first practice, Coach Enger gathered us all and goes, gentlemen, when we play a road game, before that ball's ever thrown up at midcourt on the tip, you guys are, if you're on the road, you're down 10-0. So I've always looked at it that way. You're down 10. Anytime you go to somebody else's arena, you're down 10-0. And you got to figure it out. And the Aztecs, are they better than Colorado State? Yes, they are. But they didn't play like it the other night. They had a big crowd at Moby Arena. The fans were right on top of you. And the young Aztec team did not fare well. And they've got to get their emotions under control. They got to get better court balance. And they've got to get into the offense earlier in the shot clock. Too many desperation shots. And give Colorado State a little credit on that. But, you know, normally this time of year, Kevin, this is when Brian Dutcher's teams get better and take that next step. Right now, they're not taking that next step. And this week will be very interesting. They've got to go against a team that's probably going to go into their game tomorrow night, San Jose State, with a little confidence. They probably should have beat the Aztecs at Viejas a couple of weeks ago. They ended up losing by 3. And it took a big comeback late by the Aztecs to win that game. And then they got Boise State coming in. Boise State's a good team. And Leon Rice is a good coach. So this week is going to tell a lot about, I think, where the Aztecs are going. And if they drop 1 or they drop 2 this week, then they better win the tournament or they're going to the NIT. That's the way I see it right now. Okay. All right. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Great show. Great questions. And again, remember, you can follow me on Facebook at John Quintera. You can follow me on X at Coach Quintera 44, our YouTube page. Write those questions in for me. I love answering questions. I love fan participation. And again, follow me on Facebook and on X. Love to visit with you. And again, we'll be back on Friday morning at 10 o'clock. And boy, by that time, we had to have even more news. I got to believe AJ is going to pull something off this week. And I'm not talking about a big trade or a great, big, huge free agent signing, but he's going to continue to add to this roster. So we'll see where it goes. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And don't forget, Lakers playing tonight against Utah. They're saying right now, Doncic is questionable, but it sounds like he's going to play. LeBron's questionable. Sounds like he's going to play. We'll have to wait and see. But anyways, we'll talk about that and a whole lot more on Friday. Have a great week, everyone. Talk to you bright and early on Friday morning at 10 a.m. Bye-bye.